As many of you know, just over 4 years ago, the United States SEC filed its lawsuit against Ripple. I'm finally able to announce that this case has ended. It's over.
What's going up, bull runners? Welcome back to the channel. Imagine this, you're sitting there watching the crypto world twist and turn, wondering what's next. The market hums with secrets, whispers of big wins, and sudden shifts that could change everything. Well, today, something massive is unfolding, and it's closer than you think. What if I told you that the SEC just flipped the script on XRP, handing Ripple a victory that's shaking the entire industry? What if the days of wondering whether XRP is a security are finally over? And what if new moves in the US is about to turbocharge XRP's future right now as we speak? This isn't just news. It's a mystery unraveling before your eyes, and the solution is crystal clear. Clarity is here, and it's rewriting the rules. You're going to want to stick around with me because in every second of this video is packed with updates that could shift the crypto game. The clock is ticking, and crypto does not wait for anyone. And on top of that, at the end of this video, I got a bonus for you, a sneak peek into Altcoin Pro University as our crypto community, where average everyday crypto community users are crushing it with picks and insights. So if you're like most people, you don't have the opportunity to spend hours a day in the crypto news like we do here on this channel, and we bring that to you in a condensed manner, make sure you subscribe today. And if you're feeling bullish about this current bull run, let me know by commenting 777 down below. Plus, we'll be jumping over to X to find out all the breaking news that's happening in the crypto world today. We will also be jumping into the charts for XRP and look at key support and resistance level. As we talked about yesterday, breaking above the 250 area is going to be extremely key for our next move up to 280. We'll also go over our short-term and long-term momentum indicators. We're going to dive deeper into Bitnomial to launch the first regulated XRP futures in the United States. SEC's XRP reversal, a victory for the industry. And what the SEC dropping the Ripple case, the final exclamation mark that XRP is not a security. But first, let's head over to CoinMarketCap and check out the overall health of the crypto market.
We just launched Altcoin Pro University, where our research team gives you real-time altcoin picks with explosive potential for this bull run, along with 100+ expert curated classes crafted by industry experts to discover these gems yourself, on top of our live weekly calls every single week for in-depth crypto market analysis and daily updates. And that's just a fraction of what we offer inside of Altcoin Pro University. Just go through the link in the description below, get in right now, watch the 26-minute video covering everything that Altcoin Pro University offers.
Current market cap 2.81 trillion. And as we've been talking about, we're waiting for us to get back above 3 trillion, which will be a good indicator we're moving towards bullish sentiment again. Volume today at 97 billion, so nothing spectacular, but it is starting to tick to the upside. Fear and greed index coming in at 23. Last week it was all the way down at 19. Yesterday was at 25. With this new news, tomorrow when this rolls over, I'm sure we'll be getting closer to the 30-40 mark when it comes to fear and greed. Altcoin season index flat today. Yesterday was a 21. Today is a 21. And then last week it was all the way down at 13, which was the lowest level in the last 90 days, which came in March 11th, registered a 13. The total altcoin market cap was only $1 trillion at that point. And in some positive news, what we've been watching very closely here on this segment on this channel, the cryptocurrency ETF tracker has been a pretty good indicator of what's going to be happening with the market. As you know, it's been constant outflows, meaning the Bitcoin and Ethereum ETFs have all been selling off. But now we have 2 days in a row of Bitcoin moving to the upside, meaning we've got volume coming in for the ETFs for Bitcoin. Yesterday was 156 million. Today, over 209 million on the reports. And if we back out a little bit and not look at the last 30 days, but the last year, as you can see, this was the volume run up during that November, December, which is our current peak for all of our coins as of recent. Then we had that massive sell-off to the downside. And this is the first real week to the upside since the first week of February. So great news coming in here at the end of March. Are we going to see 2 consecutive weeks? Will we see the volume really start to peak up? Because if we do, that means actual institutional money is coming back into the crypto market. Also, we know that the Solana ETF will be launching tomorrow, so that will start to keep track on here as well. Then we hope to have the XRP ETFs coming shortly as well. Top 5 trending coins according to CoinMarketCap right now. Number 1, XRP, currently sitting at $250. Ethereum coming in at number 2 at $2,000. Bitcoin coming in at $85,600. Solana coming in at number 4 at $133. And Cardano number 5 at 73 cents. And as always, the top 5 cryptos by total market cap. Bitcoin coming in at number 1 at 1.6, nearly 1.7 trillion. Ethereum coming in at number 2 at 246 billion. XRP taking the number 3 spot back again at 145 billion. Tether coming in at number 4 at 143 billion. BNB coming in at number 5 with 87 billion. And Solana wrapping it up as number 6 at 68 billion. And as you know, we always cover these 6 because Tether is a stable coin. Jumping over to X to find out all of the breaking news. Let's pick up where we left off for a couple more minutes on the Brad Garlinghouse interview.
As many of you know, just over 4 years ago, the United States SEC filed its lawsuit against Ripple. I'm finally able to announce that this case has ended. It's over. Sitting here today and reflecting on 4 years ago, it seems very clear to me that this case was doomed from the start. In so many ways, it was the first major shot fired in the war on crypto. I truly felt like I knew then that Ripple was not only on the right side of the law, but I felt that we were also going to be proven to be on the right side of history. And really, I think sends an ominous sign for innovation around cryptocurrency in the United States. Picking winners in general has not been something the US government should be in the business of doing. I think the judge realizes this is not just about Ripple. This will have broader implications. As Mary Jo White, the former head of the SEC, has said publicly that she views this as a dead wrong, and the SEC is dead wrong on this decision. Ripple is the first company with the resources, determination, and grit to fight back against the agency's overreach. And today, this journey finally concludes. Today is a victory and a long overdue surrender by the SEC. The SEC, under Chairman Gary Gensler, went after the whole industry, using the same arguments they used against us. They weren't out to protect investors. They were out to intimidate and terrorize. The regulator, whose primary purpose is to protect investors, went all in on a non-fraud, victimless lawsuit and wiped out $15 billion of value from innocent XRP holders. The SEC was the market manipulator. The SEC wasn't seeking justice. They were seeking to win a case at any cost. Forces inside our government aligned with the SEC and embarked on a campaign of debanking anyone associated with the crypto industry. This was lawfare, a war of legal terror. Fortunately, the judge rebuked the SEC multiple times in this journey. First, for lacking a, quote, faithful allegiance to the law. The SEC was sanctioned in our case for discovery abuses, and the pattern was repeated in other crypto cases.
Well, let's just say they're trying to confuse you.
We won then on every critical legal point, proving that the digital asset XRP is not a security. That is now the law, and those wins have laid the groundwork for policymakers to adopt a set of rules for crypto that are in line with nearly a century of securities law. With today's news, the war on crypto has ended in defeat for those who turned our own government against a technology and an entire industry. I'm heartened that we have paved the way for other industry players to see the value in not backing down, and for others to use our legal playbook to fight back. We are now closing a chapter in crypto history. I think we're all stronger for our prior litigation successes and today's landmark victory. Progress is worth fighting for. We won multiple pro-crypto victories at the ballot box last year. It's time to make the US the crypto capital of the world. Thankfully, we have new leadership in executive and legislative branches of our government. That leadership is actively seeking a rational and constructive way forward on crypto. Let's make the most of this. This is an incredibly promising moment. Let's come together. Let's leave the tribalism behind. But let me make it clearer that my main message, what Ripple's main message today is about gratitude. It's gratitude to everyone who stood by us, to every Ripple employee, to the incredible legal team here at Ripple, led by the best chief legal officer in the business, Stu Alderodi. Gratitude certainly to the XRP family, to our customers, to our partners. Thank you. We couldn't have won this battle without all of you being behind us and working together. I truly believe we all agree there's immense opportunity with the largest economy in the world finally taking a pro-crypto and pro-innovation approach to build this technology in order to solve real-world problems for people around the planet. This was a fight Ripple never wanted, but one we knew we had to win. And today, emphatically, we have. Thank you.
So very exciting times ahead for XRP. As you can see, though, there is one thing remaining for it to be officially sealed, which is the pending vote of the commission, which I'm sure will be happening any day now. And as he mentioned, Stuart Alradi in that video, today Ripple moves forward stronger than ever. This landmark case set precedent for the domestic crypto industry. With the SEC dropping its appeal, Ripple is now in the driver's seat and will evaluate how best to pursue our cross appeal. Regardless, today is the day to celebrate this victory. And on top of that, adding in as well, lawyer Jeremy Hogan saying, so for a little more detail, second try, the SEC has apparently dropped its appeal, but we don't know if Ripple has agreed to the same. This means that as far as negative outcomes, the judgment from Judge Torres is the worst it can get, which is a $125 million plus injunction, which that money then could be put into the crypto stockpile. So yeah, it's a little bit of a bad thing for Ripple, but long-term for XRP's case could be a very positive thing that the United States government will be holding a junk ton of XRP. There are 4 possibilities left. Ripple continues its appeal and will get a ruling from an appellate court on whether investment contracts require contracts, etc. Ripple agrees to drop its appeal. Jurisdiction returns to the trial court, and the parties attempt to amend the judgment. So getting rid of this judgment of $125 million, that's a possibility. C, Ripple agrees to drop its appeal, and the parties enter to an agreement between them without trying to amend the judgment, getting rid of that $125 million. Or D, Ripple just pays $125 million, as I mentioned, and then that goes into the crypto stockpile, XRP big bag in the United States government stockpile. And why do we want crypto? As we always talk about, fiat currency is dying. And take a look at this. Cole Walmsley posted this out here. It's actually hilarious. People complain about Bitcoin's volatility or whatever, and then you go about their day using a money that continuously loses value over time. Make it make sense. And as we can see, your purchasing power of $100 since January 1st of 2000. So that's just 25 years ago. So if $100 was worth $100 in 2000 because of inflation and etc., things happening in the United States economy, printing money, currently $100 is worth only $58.80. And in some other crypto-related news outside of XRP, just in North Carolina, senators introduced a bill to invest up to 10% of public funds into Bitcoin. So again, as they've been talking about, the United States Bitcoin Strategic Reserve exists. Now we see several states starting to actually start their own strategic Bitcoin reserve as well. We do know some Midwest states actually declined it, but those were before the United States agreed to open one themselves. So we'll see more of this going along. And in a very scary situation outside of the United States when it comes to cryptocurrency in a way, Lagarde confirms that the Euro CBDC will launch in October of 2025, meaning that the Euro Central Bank will get full digital control over every euro in your wallet. So if you're a European and you are using the euro as your currency when you're in Europe and all the different countries over there, the Federal Reserve of that state, the European Central Bank, can shut you off anytime they want to. A financial system where every transaction can be monitored, restricted, or reserved. Still think it's about convenience? No. And this is what some people absolutely hate about cryptocurrency, is this possibility. And could this be the so-called mark of the beast, right? Well, a totalitarian government can basically cut you out of reality, out of existence. You will no longer exist as a person. We've heard about people being debanked in the United States, but they still have their money. But here, the euro could literally just cut your money off and take it all away from you. And this was a great post by Lark Davis here. The dollar index is falling. Inflation is coming down. Quantitative tightening is coming to an end. And we officially got that from Jerome Powell today, that it is over. And now they're just stopping that for now. They did not lower rates, but they are not going to continue the quantitative tightening, which is great. Global M2 supply, M2 money supply is reaching all-time highs. Gold is breaking out to all-time highs. The United States government is saying that they want to buy as much Bitcoin as they can. All the signs are there. Do what you will with this information. As a lot of people will sign off right here is you're not bullish enough, as they say. And in interesting news, breaking X's valuation, X, Twitter, the platform here, X valuation is back at $44 billion. So congratulations to Elon. He purchased the platform. It was down significantly in value, but after the couple years he's had it, it is back up doing well. And major news just in, first Solana ETF is to launch in the United States tomorrow. And just in, LMAX digital clients can now access Ripple's RLUSD stablecoin. And big news, BlackRock Global Head of Digital Assets, Robbie Mitchnick, says that if you look at Bitcoin fundamentally on a long-term basis, it really seems like an asset that should be uncorrelated or even inversely correlated against certain risk factors that exist. So jumping to our first headline, SEC's XRP reversal, a victory for the industry. The SEC's dismissal of its years-long lawsuit against Ripple Labs, the developer of XRP Ledger blockchain network, is a victory for the industry, Ripple CEO Brad Garlinghouse said at BlackRock's 2025 Digital Asset Summit in New York. He went on to say, it feels like a victory for the industry and the beginning of a new chapter. Under President Joe Biden, the SEC brought upwards of 100 enforcement actions against crypto firms, typically alleging failure to properly register products that former SEC Jerry Gensler said fell under the securities regulator's jurisdiction. Trump has taken a much friendlier stance towards the burgeoning industry, promising to make America the world's crypto capital and appointing industry-friendly leaders to key regulatory positions. Garlinghouse said the new chapter started with the reset at both the Congress and executive branch when Trump came in and nominated Paul Atkins, Scott Bessent, and brought on David Sachs. He continued, I really deeply believe that we're going to be on the right side of the law and on the right side of history. And he also added that in his view, the SEC was just trying to bully the crypto industry. Ripple has invested over $2 billion in investments and acquisitions across the crypto landscape, and some of those have not to do with XRP because crypto does well. I fundamentally believe Ripple will do well. So very exciting day. We did see some action in the markets, and we'll take a look at those charts here shortly, but it is over. John Deaton also weighed in on the scenario. According to Deaton, Ripple has leveraged to renegotiate its settlement with the SEC, possibly lowering the $125 million it has been ordered to pay. Deaton added that there is still a $125 million judgment against Ripple over the improper selling of the XRP cryptocurrency, which perhaps the company can negotiate down now that the SEC has dropped its appeal. Deaton is a well-known lawyer who represented XRP holders, arguing that their interests were not being represented in the SEC's case against Ripple. He later ran against Elizabeth Warren, a vocal crypto critic, for the Senate seat to represent Massachusetts and Washington, D.C. The next major question is, will Ripple drop its cross appeal? One factor that will play out going forward is Ripple's cross appeal, which was filed in October of 2024. Deaton believes the SEC doesn't want Ripple to proceed with the cross appeal because a ruling could hurt the commission's jurisdiction and affect other cases. So that gives Ripple some leverage in negotiating the settlement. Everything's turned, Deaton said. The elections turned, the industry turned, the SEC has completely done a 180 as it relates to the industry. Why should we pay $125 million? However, there is still the injunction issued by Annalisa Torres, which prevents Ripple from selling XRP to institutional investors to prevent violation of securities law. If Ripple obviously wants to be able to issue XRP to banks in America directly, I think that the hang up is that injunction, and how do you get past that injunction? Ripple case was an attack on the industry. I remember when the case was first filed, Deaton said, I thought it was an assault on the industry, like a boot on the neck of the industry. And I was confident that it wasn't just going to be a one-off, that it wouldn't just be Ripple, that it was more of a message that the traditional finance and banking system, the Elizabeth Warrens and the Gary Genslers of the world had it in for the industry. So big news. What do you think they're going to do with the $125 million? Let me know down in the comment section. And in some more positive news, Bitnomial is going to launch a regulated XRP futures in the US. Binomial announced that it will launch XRP futures contracts tomorrow, the first in the United States. The announcement comes after the SEC reportedly dropped its landmark lawsuit against Ripple. Binomial dropped its own suit against the commission regarding regulatory status of this offering. An XRP futures contract could help lay the critical groundwork for spot ETF approval. XRP futures contracts for institutional traders. Since the SEC dropped its lawsuit against Ripple this morning, the price of XRP has responded very positively. You know, unfortunately, it was supposed to be significantly higher, in my personal opinion. What is absolutely blowing my mind is that all of this was already priced in. So in order for XRP's price to significantly move to the upside, we must be in store for some super major issues coming up ahead that's going to be positive, because this landmark case carried a lot of implications for the entire crypto industry, and naturally, it'll have a knock-on effect on the other topics. Binomial is launching the first ever CFTC regulated XRP futures in the United States, physically settled for real market impact. Plus, we voluntarily dismissed our case against the SEC as regulatory clarity improves. Current clients have access to XRP futures on March 20th, 2025. Prospective clients can onboard with one of our FCM partners. XRP futures are standardized derivative contracts that allow traders to speculate or hedge against future price movements of the altcoin with physical settlement. They promote market maturity and enhancing liquidity, improving price discovery, and providing a regulated avenue for risk management. So this is very positive news for XRP as well, allowing more liquidity to flow into the system. I think the next major step for XRP is going to be its ETF approvals, which is going to be significant and amazing for the upside. Let's take a look at the charts. What we're looking at here is XRP on the daily charts, and we are using, let me go ahead and show you the weekly charts first, because we are using our weekly spider lines, and these are points of interest from the drop of 2018 with a pivot point in the middle of April of 2021, and that shoots out a trend line into the future, which has been fantastic for support and resistance. So I've got it cleaned up here, but let me go ahead and add in a couple more lines here. I'll turn on all of the support and resistance as far as that goes. And we can see that as we go into the future from the past, that is where price has come to hit for support and resistance. When we drop down to the daily charts, it's a little bit simpler to see, but I just wanted to show you what these support and resistance are from. So as we talked about last week, was price unfortunately continued to drop, and we said, okay, well, we have a support level here at $1.90. It should see a nice strong support and be able to bounce from that level. And sure enough, it bounced back up to our next trend line, which was the $2.24 level. And then it pushed all the way up, but it rejected off of this, what was a support of our symmetrical triangle from back here at the beginning of December before our breakout to the upside in the middle of January. Well, this support line, we lost that support line on March 7th when we dropped down to this level down here at $1.90. We're now trying to breach that level again and turn that back into a support level. So as we see on the daily chart, you can't really tell that that's what's going on. But when you drop down to a smaller time frame like the 1 hour, you can significantly see that. So as we can see, price pushed up into this past support, turned resistance, bounced off our spider line at a $2.23, and then had our explosion today to the upside. We were then able to break through that resistance level, and we are now turning it into a support. You can see we have 1, 2, 3, 4 candles that it has bounced as a support off that level. We also have our 10 exponential moving average on the hourly at that level as well. But the most important thing is getting this 250 level and turning it into a support, which it's currently developing, as we can see here. When we look at this 1 hour time frame and we take a look at our short-term momentum wave called the shaft trend cycle, we had reset at 0 yesterday at 5 a.m. and we were pushing up nicely, and it had ridden the maxed out level of 100 and we got our boost to the upside. Now we are coming back down for a reset. Now, what's interesting, what is really nice about this situation, if you're using the wolf pack for your long-term momentum indicator and it's in the green, when we have a drop or reset of red, the opposite color, price action tends to trade sideways or do accumulation. And then also vice versa. If it's red down here and then you're having a green scenario, it'll trade sideways as you saw here until it finally broke to the upside. And that works on all different time frames. In fact, for the daily, we are finally about to break back above the zero line on our Wolfpack indicator, indicating going back into bullish momentum. Now we are about 1, maybe 2 days away for confirmation for that. As we can see, last time we broke above the zero line on our Wolfpack indicator was here November 9th, and that is when we started making our massive move to the upside. If you're wanting to use this Wolfpack indicator on TradingView, it is free. The settings that I'm using is fast length 10 and slow length 30. Everything else remains the same. And if you're wanting to use the shaft trend cycle, length is 10, fast length is 10, slow length is 30. So something we're watching for right now is the break of the long-term momentum Wolfpack back above the zero line, indicating we're in bullish territory on the daily. We already started to have our short-term trend cycle moving to the upside. And as you can see, once that started to happen with some positive price action to the upside, our trend cycle started following along with it as well. And as we were talking about yesterday, if we take a look at our 3-day momentum indicators, we can see that our 3-day momentum short term has started to turn up, and it's already making its move over the last 9 days, which is nice. There's actually 2 hours and 55 seconds left in this candle, so that will continue to move to the upside. And right here, which is important, on our 3-day Wolfpack indicator, we have started turning back to the upside. As you'll notice right here, price ran to the upside, had a small pullback, did a double pump, but it also turned into a bearish divergence right here. And that is when we started to see the decline in our momentum waves and also in price action. So right now we have some really good signs we could be turning back to the upside, confirmed right here with our short-term momentum wave. And as we've been talking about, if we look at the weekly charts, our weekly trend cycle has reset at 0. It's ready to turn up. And let's look at this. If we look at the weekly trend cycle, last time this set at 0 and started making its move to the upside is when we had our massive pump. And we are still in the green as far as weekly long-term momentum. We will know more about this once this weekly candle closes, which is on Sunday evening. So we have 4 days and 3 hours left. So as I was talking a few days ago, we were finally starting to build some momentum in our smaller time frame scenarios, like our 1 hour. If you remember, a couple of days ago, we got above that zero line and tracked there for quite some time before losing it a little bit. But this time through, we have some serious volume moving to the upside. So what we're going to watch for is this right here, our short-term trend cycle to reset at 0 and make its move back to the upside. So it looks like confirmation of a support level here at $2.50. If we lose this though, and for some reason we start going bearish again, we'll then see a return back to the $2.23 level as a support. Now, one thing I don't like, and we talk about this a lot on my segment here, when price makes an extreme move to the upside like this, it leaves a fair value gap. And a fair value gap almost always gets filled. So you have this full gap right here, which gets us back to $2.34 to the downside. On the contrary, let's look at this on the 4 hour. We can see some positive signs that we should be moving back up to the upside and getting to that next resistance level of 280. Because as you can see, we have a 4 hour fair value gap sitting right here at 270. There's also a fair value gap sitting right here at 282. And some people wonder if fair value gaps even work. Take a look at this right here. There was a fair value gap sitting at $3.01. And if you remember, the day that Trump said, we're going to have an XRP, Solana, ADA strategic reserve, and price just absolutely moonshot, that was this day right here. And look at exactly where price got to. Price literally ran to this fair value gap and then immediately retrace from that level. So the only bummer about fair value gaps for us as XRP Army is once we break back above $3.40 again, breaking into new all-time high territory, there is no fair value gaps. So we are only going to be relying on whatever your scenario is. And for me, I use the weekly spider line. So what I'm seeing in the future, once we break above this level here, which as you can see, a spider line came into play right there at $3.24. After we break that, we're going to have $3.66, and we'll have to do some more evaluation of our trend lines here. I've got one from June 17th that leads us all the way out into the future. We break this level, continue, we get new all-time high price discovery. We're looking at $5.28. Now, obviously, there's a lot of talk about $100 XRP, $1,000 XRP, $10,000 XRP. Well, let's have some fun and find out where the deepest possible spider line could take us. All right, so what you do is you turn it on the weekly charts, you turn it on Heikin-Ashi candles, logarithmic status. At this point, our momentum indicators do not matter at all. So let's take this level right here, this highest candle of this push up from November of 2020, and we're going to go ahead and select the ray. I turn my magnets on November 23rd of 2020, and then we shoot it out into the future. And now we have a new support or resistance level. Let's go ahead and grab another one. We'll do this one right here, which is February 1st of 2021. And we bounce it off of our April of 2021. And that is how you make a spider line. Okay, so that's how you do it from the drops here. And these are going to be extremely far in the future. Now we'll go ahead and turn logarithmic off, reset our candles, and then we'll look at what could price be when it hits those levels. So once price starts to break out and make it up into these levels where these become resistance, you know, obviously price and time matter, because it could take one day it shoots up, or it could take blah, blah, blah. We have a pullback, blah, blah, blah. But here's what we got. Let's say that it happens in the first week of July 2025 and it gets there. That's a $14.98 resistance. And then the next one up here is $29, $30. So these are going to come into play in the future. But I have had a few people ask about the spider lines, how they work. So I just wanted to show you that. But going back to where we're at right now, we had that nice pump all the way up to $2.58. It did reject off that level. Like I said, we have to confirm this 250 support and really get some more volume and momentum going back into the markets, drive us back into this $2.82 level, then $2.90, then $3, and claim those as supports. So if you have any questions, let me know down in the comment section. If you want to learn how to do charts, you can also check out Altcoin Pro. So take a look at this.
April 15th, 2025. This is a huge date because it's the deadline for 2 high-paying tax credits that you probably haven't heard about, but you can still get if you take action right now. We've partnered with the relief consultants who are experts in the tax code who've recovered over $100 million for their clients so far. So if you're a business owner or an entrepreneur, listen up so we can get you help and reach our goal of recovering $10 million for the Bull Runners community before the April 15th deadline. So here's how it works. If you're a business owner who had employees in 2021, then you qualify for an average $150,000 check from the Treasury and possibly more with the Employee Retention Credit Program. So if you were told in the past that you don't qualify, get a second opinion now through the link in the description below this video, because there are rules and regulations that have changed just recently. So there's a high likelihood that you do qualify now. And if you sold your business or you shut it down, you still qualify as long as you were active in 2021. So don't miss out. Schedule an appointment with the link below. Just click business owner with employees if it applies to you. There's also a second tax credit that also ends April 15th. So this is for the bull runners who are self-employed in 2021. So if you were a 1099, not W-2, and self-employment was your primary income, the treasury check for this tax credit can go up to $32,220 with an average of $17,000. So if you were self-employed in 2021 and want to see if you haven't claimed this credit, which nobody has from our community thus far for some strange reason. We've been talking about this in several videos. I don't know, man. Maybe you just want the treasury to keep your money. But if you want to get money back in your pocket, then schedule a consultation. Don't be lazy. Do this right now before April 15th through the link below. Just click self-employed if you think you qualify for both credits. Let the rep know on the call. And by the way, if you have your tax returns from 2020 and 2021 for this credit, it will be a faster turnaround for you. So have them ready on your call, and they can literally tell you if you qualify on your first call to get you paid. So if you need more money back in your pocket for this bull run, take action right now, click the link, and let's get you paid.